The fisherman who caught a golden creature that changed his fate. The net hit the water before the sun did. Elias hauled the rope with both hands, his arms trembling, his boots soaked through, the cold Atlantic biting at his fingers like it had a grudge. He had been out here since 3 in the morning, 4 hours with nothing but empty nets and the sound of waves mocking him. His back ached, his stomach was hollow, and somewhere back on shore, his daughter was asleep in a house that had a final notice pinned to the front door. He pulled the net up again. Empty. Come on, he whispered through cracked lips, staring out at the dark water. Come on, give me something. The ocean didn't answer. It never did, but Elias had been a fisherman for 31 years, long enough to know that the sea wasn't cruel, it was just honest. It gave you what you earned. And lately, he hadn't been earning much. He thought about his wife, Clara, who had passed 3 winters ago. She used to sit on the dock wrapped in her yellow coat and watch him sail out, waving until he was just a speck on the horizon. She always said the sea would take care of them. He used to believe her. Now he wasn't so sure. He cast the net one final time. He almost didn't. His arms were done. His heart wasn't far behind. But something, some stubborn, salt-worn instinct, made him swing his arms back and release. The net sailed out in a wide arc, catching the first pale light of dawn, and sank into the water with a soft splash. He waited. Then the rope went taut. Not the slow, heavy pull of a full net, but something sharp and sudden, like the ocean itself had grabbed hold and yanked back. Elias gripped the rope with everything he had, his boots sliding against the wet deck, his teeth clenched. What in the? He pulled. The rope resisted. He pulled harder, leaning back with his whole body weight until his shoulders screamed. Then, all at once, the resistance broke, and the net came surging up out of the water, and inside it, something glowed. Elias froze. It was a fish, but not like any fish he had ever seen in 31 years on the water. It was the size of his forearm, with scales that shimmered a deep, impossible gold, not the dull yellow of an ordinary catch, but a rich, luminous gold that caught the light and threw it back in all directions, like it was lit from the inside. Its fins moved slowly, deliberately, and its eyes, dark and round and startlingly calm, looked directly at him. Elias set the net down on the deck with shaking hands. He crouched down and stared. What are you? He breathed. The fish didn't thrash. It didn't panic. It simply looked at him, its gills rising and falling, its golden scales pulsing with a faint, warm light. Elias had heard stories, old men's stories, dock stories, the kind you dismiss over your second drink, about rare golden creatures pulled from deep water. Creatures that brought fortune. Creatures that carried curses. Creatures that changed everything they touched. He had always laughed at those stories. He wasn't laughing now. His phone buzzed in his jacket pocket. He pulled it out with one hand, not taking his eyes off the fish. It was a message from his daughter, Maya. She was 17, sharp as a blade, and she never texted before sunrise unless something was wrong. Dad, the landlord called again. He said we have until Friday. Asterisk. Elias read the message twice. Friday was 2 days away. He looked at the fish. He looked at his phone. He looked at the fish again. He knew, in the way that a man knows things he hasn't yet admitted out loud, that what he was holding in that net was worth something extraordinary. He had seen enough wildlife documentaries with Maya on their small television to know that a specimen like this, a naturally occurring golden fish, flawless, living, would send marine biologists and collectors into a frenzy. He had no idea what it was worth. Thousands, maybe more. He could save the house. He could buy Maya the winter coat she needed, the one she kept saying she didn't need. He could breathe again. His hand moved toward the net. And then the fish looked at him again, that same slow, steady gaze, and Elias stopped. He sat back on his heels and pressed his hand to his mouth. Clara, he said quietly, to no one, to the sky, to the memory of a woman in a yellow coat. What do I do? The wind came off the water and pushed against his face like an answer he couldn't quite hear. He thought about the day he had taken Maya fishing for the first time, when she was 6 years old. She had watched him pull a small fish from the water, and before he could do anything, she had said, very seriously, "Put it back, Daddy. It has a family." He had laughed. He had put it back. She had beamed like he'd done the most heroic thing in the world. She was 17 now, worried about rent, sending messages before the sun was up. He had already taken so much from her without meaning to. The childhood security. The mother. The easy, careless mornings. He looked at the golden fish one last time. Then he picked up the net, walked to the side of the boat, and lowered it into the water. He opened it slowly, carefully, the way you open something you know you won't get back. The fish drifted out, hovered near the surface for a moment, its golden scales catching the sunrise in a way that made Elias's breath catch in his chest. It was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen on this water, and he had seen this water in every mood it had. Then it was gone, down into the dark, taking its light with it. Elias stood at the rail for a long time. Okay, he said finally, to himself, to the ocean. Okay. He didn't know what he expected. Nothing, probably. He had made a choice that made no practical sense, and the sea owed him nothing for it. But when he pulled his last net of the morning 40 minutes later, it was heavier than any net he had hauled in a decade. The catch was enormous, a full, thrashing, silver weight of fish that nearly pulled him off his feet. He hauled it in laughing, actually laughing, the sound strange and rusty coming out of him, like a door that hadn't been opened in a long time. He sold the catch at the dock that morning for more than he'd made in the past 2 months combined. But that wasn't the end of it. Because one of the buyers at the dock that morning was a marine researcher named Drive. Souza, a quiet woman with sharp eyes who had been studying unusual deep-water activity in the area. She had seen Elias's boat come in. She had seen his face, the expression of a man who had been through something he wasn't ready to talk about. She approached him carefully. "You look like a man who saw something out there," she said. Elias looked at her for a long moment. "I did," he said. "Do you want to talk about it?" He thought about that for a while. Then he nodded. What followed changed things in ways he could not have predicted. Dr. Souza's research team had been tracking a rare bioluminescent species thought to be extinct. A species with golden pigmentation caused by a unique genetic mutation, documented only twice in recorded history. Elias's description matched it exactly. His account, his location, his coordinates, they became a critical part of a research paper that made international news 6 months later. He wasn't paid for the fish. He hadn't sold it. But Drive, Souza's institute offered him a consulting role, a paid position as a local maritime guide for their ongoing research expeditions in the region. Steady work. Meaningful work. The kind of work Clara would have said suited him perfectly. Maya cried when he told her. Not sad crying. The other kind. "You let it go," she said, shaking her head and smiling at the same time. "Of course you did. You told me to, once," he said. "A long time ago." She looked at him like she didn't know what he meant. He didn't explain. Some things belong to the water, and to the memory of a woman in a yellow coat, and to the quiet moment before sunrise when a man makes a choice that defines the rest of his life. Elias went back to the dock the next morning before the sun came up. He cast his net, and for the first time in 3 years, he wasn't afraid of what it might come back with.